taking time out. I know you've got a busy schedule.
That's okay. No, the weekends are nice. It's getting pretty crazy with the book business right now. So you actually this was more convenient for me. So thank you.
The book is brilliant.
Love the book.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
ready to
thank
do
you.
this?
Ready.
Okay.
Hopefully
All
I
right,
can
I'm
sit
gonna
down.
hand it off to. We go by MJ and Snow. This town, people don't really want to know our names. We get in a lot of trouble.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's in part of the
Okay.
intro.
All right. All right. So three, two, one, and we'll kick this off and go.
Okay, so this is a big day for the Reality Redemption podcast. One could even argue the biggest. I never thought this would happen to two lids that live in Paul Gosar's district, but it turns out if your co-host emails the right people, you too can get John Fugelsang to come on. John is the host of Tell Me Everything on Sirius XM, as well as his own podcast, and is also an actor, comedian, and author. And I want to make a bumper sticker that says, "Make more men like John Fugelsang."
You're
Yes,
very
it's good.
kind. I'm grateful to both of you for your low standards in men. Thank you.
Oh,
Well, I mean, you got that, the perfect hair and perfect radio voice.
I'm glad you think so. Thank you. You guys have a great setup. I love your whole studio. It looks really it looks dynamite.
Well, it's actually a dining room, but
Well, it looks terrific. Then I respect your dining room. Your dining room looks like a cool French cafe in Manhattan. How long have you been doing the show?
uh, 5 years now.
yeah.
Right
Since
on.
we started during COVID,
Right
right?
on.
Yeah, yeah. We used the Donnie dollars to start the podcast, which we had the idea of for a few years before we actually got the guts to do it and the time because we had nothing else to do.
I'm so glad you decided to do it. How has the podcast experience been for you as it's evolved?
I mean, we really wanted to stop talking to about that guy, the
Yeah.
guy that matches the color on the walls. Um,
I did this before Donald Trump was ever elected, though. Let's just be clear.
No
and we
worries.
we really thought like, all right, come November, we're going to take this podcast in a different direction, and lo and
Yeah.
behold, we won.
Oh, I know. I know. I had just turned in a draft of a book, and suddenly I'm like, I think I have to rewrite my book I just turned in. I had anticipated America's Christians having somewhat higher standards than they wound up having once again. So I kind of thought seeing cops beaten for a lie would be a deal breaker for some white folks who call themselves Christians, but it wasn't for enough of them. So yeah, here we are. And by the way, don't ever compare your walls to Donald Trump's bronzer, okay? Your walls look that color deliberately. Okay? So just own that. It looks great.
Okay, thank you.
You're most welcome.
Now, I know it's against Christianity to wish anything bad on anyone, but those
It's
rumors
again,
that were
oh,
going around this morning.
it's against Jesus, but Christianity is full of people wishing bad things on other people. So go for it.
Okay, and so we should mention the book Separation of Church and Hate, out on September 9th, available for pre-sale. Our
Available right now. Yeah.
Yeah, our friend Bridget already uh, she's already ordered it,
Mhm.
and we both finished it. We thought it was terrific,
Thank you.
brilliant. Um,
Loved it.
Thank you for reading it.
I'm gonna buy a copy too, though, because I wanna have it not just on the computer, like so I can hold it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
so can we get a little bit into your background, for those who don't know you, about
Sure,
talk
of
about the
course.
parents?
Yeah, you're very kind to have me. So I host a show on Sirius XM, but I'm a comedian and I'm an actor and I do all kinds of stuff and I've done all kinds of TV shows. And I've interviewed all kinds of interesting artists and celebrities and political figures over the years. Um, I appear on cable news a lot and I pop up on different TV things now and then. And I come from a religious background that well was unique in some ways but very common in others. My mother was a nun before she married. My mother entered the convent straight out of high school, She joined the Daughters of Wisdom Order, and they put her through nursing school. And then they sent her off to work with lepers in the jungles of Malawi, Africa, and then later in a hospital in Malawi. Before they sent her to Africa, they stationed her briefly in Brooklyn, New York, where she met my dad. And my father was a Franciscan brother. He joined the Franciscans about a year out of high school, and he taught history to Catholic boys in Brooklyn and dressed like the full Jedi Knight outfit. And my father, the brother, met my mother, the sister, when he entered the hospital with tuberculosis, fell madly in love. Very long story short, about 10 years later, he convinced her to leave and go on a date. And so I grew up abnormally Catholic in many ways. But like millions of Christians, I grew up believing that Christianity was about the things Jesus stood for, loving your enemies and forgiving people and looking out for the least of these and not hating, and not letting yourself become a person like the ones Jesus condemned for hypocrisy, who think that with all their religious eminence, they're better than other people. I mean, I grew up thinking Christianity was about humility and that it was a religion of service to others, not about total right-wing domination of your local school board. And so, like many, I grew up to find this religion of peace and love. I mean, my dad had over his bed a portrait, a collage portrait of Gandhi, Dr. King, and Dorothy Day, founder of Catholic Charities. And like many, I grew up to find this religion of love and peace and empathy seemingly hijacked by all these blow-dried evangelists and these old segregationists who, after they lost on civil rights, were in the wilderness for 10 years, and in the late 70s realized abortion, this can be our way back. When Roe v. Wade was decided in 73, it wasn't controversial at all, but it took 5 years for Jerry Falwell to ever mention it in a sermon. And then they were off to the races. Ronald Reagan, who had signed one of the most liberal abortion laws in California's history, flipped and became staunchly anti-abortion. George H.W. Bush, who was always supportive of women's reproductive rights, overnight, when Reagan asked him to be VP, became anti-abortion. And the entire Republican Party became the anti-abortion party. And over 2 generations, what they've done through their politicians and their media and the whole culture is they've conditioned and groomed 2 generations of American Christian to vote against everything Jesus ever talked about, all because of abortion, which Jesus never talked about. They got people to throw out everything Jesus actually commands us to do, all the terms he lays down in Matthew 25 that would make us a Christian nation, all the ways he tells us we're supposed to treat each other. Didn't matter. It became this cult of abortion bad, gay people bad, feminism bad. And you grow up believing this. This is what the religion is, right? By the time I got to college, if I told anybody I was a Christian, they assumed I was a homophobe. They assumed I thought government should force women to be pregnant against their will. This is what passes for religion. And like so many people, I got jaded by it. When they talk about how the largest growing religious group in this country are Mormons, or some say it's Islam, some say it's none of the aboves. I think the largest growing religious group in this country are people who were raised religious, but now consider themselves spiritual. And because they're turned off to all the hypocrisies of mean people in these extremely white little tax-free cliques. So my book, I think, is outrageously pro-Jesus and pro-God and pro-faith, but it's all about how to use the Bible to debate the mean Christian in your life on the issues that divide us the most. Because on most of the issues that we fight about the most, I mean, taxation and economic policy and poverty and healthcare policy, gun safety, feminism, abortion rights, LGBTQ equality, immigration of all subjects, all these things that divide us. I've grown to find out if you're debating a right-wing Christian, even if you're an atheist, Jesus is probably on your side.
Why do you think Christian nationalists view Paul as the actual Jesus? Because many of what Paul wrote is what
Yeah,
they believe.
you're getting right into it. That's it. When I started to write this book, I never intended to write a whole chapter about St. Paul. That was the furthest thing from my mind. And in trying to write a book about why right-wing Christians today are so far from Jesus, I realized you can't really start trying to explain that without going deep on this guy, Paul. If Jesus is the great big liberal rock star, Paul is the very sexually uptight conservative PR man who worked for him. And when, we all know the story of Paul, Saul of Tarsus, persecutor of Christians. He was there for the stoning of Saint Stephen. Saul was both a Roman citizen and a Pharisee and a total dick. So he was like genetically disposed to be horrible. Persecuting Christians, killing Christians for sport. Jesus's apostles were all getting hunted down all over the place. It's amazing this weird little cult sect ever caught on. Saul got so good at hunting down Christians, they began sending him out of the city to go to other places to hunt him down, like Damascus. The famous story where Jesus appears in a vision and Saul hears Jesus's voice saying, "Why do you persecute me?" And we assume it was Jesus. Those guys never met, but he knew somehow it was Jesus's voice, not somebody else. And Saul is blinded by the light. He's brought into the city. Christ appears to Ananias, a Christian, like a force ghost. He says, "Go to this guy." And he's like, "The guy who kills Christians? Okay." Paul is a man reborn. He's a born again kid with a dream. He renounces his old ways and devotes himself to preaching the gospel of Jesus. This is the story we all loosely know. Because he's a Roman citizen, he decides he's going to go for the Gentiles because the Jews are all getting murdered by his pals back home. So he becomes Paul we've all known Jewish comics who changed their name to appeal to a wider crowd. I think it's wrong, but hey, Paul can be Paul. And he embarked on this crusade of trying to sell people on how not Jewish this new sect was. Hey, you can have bacon, you can keep your foreskin, it's eternal life. And it was incredibly popular. Within 300 years of Jesus's death, the empire that murdered Jesus takes over his whole operation. And Paul was the guy instrumental in the early church of setting up the hierarchies, not so much of preaching the message of Jesus, but setting up the church systems and writing lots of letters and helping people get structures in place and all that. And Paul couldn't help in all of his letters he wrote, but putting his own hangups into the work. And he had a lot of hangups about women, a lot of hangups about sexuality. He thought all people should be celibate like him until Jesus comes back. He really wasn't uptight about gay people because there wasn't a word for gay people, but he did not like those Roman temple prostitutes, and he used words to describe them, which got translated to homosexual in 1946. Paul had a lot of hangups. He didn't think women should speak in temple. Except in other letters, he talked about women who were deacons. And in other letters, he talked about women who had helped fund the church. So either Paul is giving different messages to different churches, or different people have rewritten this over the last 2,000 years. But 300 years after Jesus dies, the Council of Nicaea comes together to determine Rome's taken over the operation, what's going to be the scripture, and they take all of Paul's letters about scripture and say, this is now scripture. So when Paul writes to his protege Timothy, all scripture is God breathed, he's talking about the Hebrew scriptures of the Jews, but now it means Paul's letter. I say in the book, this is like if Roger Ebert's review of The Godfather was suddenly deemed to be part of The Godfather's official script. So we have this very tremendous spiritual laziness in the history of Christianity, where a lot of people will overlook Jesus's direct teachings to find something that suits them more. We all pick and choose. Hey, it's in the Bible somewhere, right? I mean, we all do it, but we don't all do it to justify being mean. I don't think Christians are supposed to follow the Bible. I think Christians are supposed to follow Christ. But a lot of right-wing people have, over the years, found a lot more to identify with the sexist Paul than the incredible feminist Jesus, with the homophobic Paul than the Jesus who commands you to treat gay people the way you treat him, with the judgmental Paul who's all about obey the laws over Jesus who's all about questioning conservative authority. You don't really see a lot of our conservative brothers and sisters fighting to put the words of Jesus on classroom walls, do you? Or courthouse walls? They found a way to have a get out of Jesus free card for the entire movement. And that's why when you actually question them, which of your policies, where does Jesus back up anything MAGA says? You'll find out how little they know the actual Bible. And that's why I wrote this book. I'm giving very long answers today, and I thank you for your patience.
Well, that's great. We live right in the heart of the immigration battle, being from Arizona. But Snow has made many trips to the border So all the border crossings in Arizona, and there wasn't this influx of people just pouring over the border.
Yeah, there are not people running across the border like they
No.
say it, like Ted Cruz likes to say.
Oh, I
It
don't know.
was dead.
I saw a thing on Reddit that had a picture. So I'm sorry. Your on the ground experience can't match this thing I saw on the internet.
I know, and I
Right?
drove to like we have 6 border crossings in Arizona. They're actually the border agents did tell me though that there's a couple of them that aren't technically on the map. They're more off dirt roads. I did not go to that one. He said it was like Ruby, Arizona, but because I actually got pulled over by them and
Really?
searched.
Well, I believe it.
Yeah, I was like, maybe you guys are searching the wrong people, and they didn't like that.
I
And
mean, it's incredible.
yeah, so I'm sorry, I'm so nervous. I'm
Oh,
like,
please don't. No, I mean, I'm fond of pointing out to my conservative brothers and sisters, number one, the majority of undocumented immigrants in this country are people who overstayed their visas, not border crossings. You
hey,
don't really hear a lot about hunting down the 30,000 Irish in this country or the Russians who are in this country, right? You hear about the brown people who cross the border. The majority of them that are illegals don't cross the border. They're here, and we don't hear about them, right? It's only the brown
and
ones who
if you
cross the
try
border.
to tell people in Arizona that this used to be Mexico, they look at you like you're crazy.
Oh, I know.
Too.
I
So
know. Oh, sure.
yeah.
That's why all the names are so old English and not Mexican in the slightest, going back generations. Yeah. But
Right.
then you look at the border crossings and and again, this is a very I find using scripture is a very powerful way to talk to our right-wing brothers and sisters about this issue. It can be a dangerous one too, but I wrote this book because if you have enough of a knowledge of scripture and you don't try to pick a fight you're looking to win, but you actually want to go there open-hearted and debate about policy, make them argue with Jesus. Make them not argue with you, make them argue with God. Now, the God of the Old Testament commands us to welcome the stranger, and he's not ambiguous. And we're to treat the stranger as if he's one of our own. We're never allowed to mistreat the stranger, charge him interest. We got to be extra nice to the alien. That's what God says. Jesus comes in Matthew 25 and says individuals and nations will be judged, heaven or hell, by how they welcome the stranger, individuals and nations. Jesus gives his criteria there, right? I mean, he doesn't say how much money you give to your church or how loud you scream at trans people or women at health clinics. Welcome the stranger. I was on CNN with our friend Scott Jennings a couple of weeks ago, and I quoted it. I'm like, so why should I listen to you and Donald Trump and reject God and Jesus? I didn't make it. I didn't write it. That's what Jesus says. Welcome the stranger. I find that if you engage our conservative friends using scripture, something interesting can happen. They won't always agree with you. They'll sometimes get mad, but sometimes they'll appreciate that you took the time to actually engage them on this holy book. And I find you'll get a lot farther with them showing them how Jesus was not an immigrant hating homophobe than if you just call your racist uncle an immigrant hating homophobe. You're not going to get anywhere that way. And I do believe that while you can't really sway cult members, you can reach their kids, you can reach their wives, you can reach the other people hanging out at the cookout. And you may have to turn the other cheek, but you can model how to engage these people and convince everybody that Jesus isn't a dick and doesn't endorse being a dick to the least of us, because that's ultimately what they're fighting for. Donald Trump's hired undocumented immigrants in 2 different centuries. Why don't you call him an illegal? Please tell me any other group of lawbreakers you've ever heard Fox. Tell me any white lawbreaker you've ever heard Fox News call an illegal. That's a slur we use just for the brown people who cross the border. I say call them Christian refugees because it'll really piss off the racists, but it gets the point across. And I wrote this book not as a way of attacking conservative Christians, but attacking Christians who think you're allowed to hate. And I find if you go into saying you can't hate these people, you can't hate the undocumented, Jesus won't let you, that'll open it all up. And then you can talk about what Jesus and God actually say. And your friends will have to tell you if they actually believe in that book. Because a lot of our friends, their Jesus is the manger and the miracles and the cross, nothing that ever came out of his mouth. And they'll fight to keep their kids from hearing what came out of his mouth.
Yeah, that's what, like, I grew up similar to how you grew up, the very strict Catholic home. Um, my grandma was really involved in the church. I had to go to Catholic school from kindergarten to eighth grade.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right on.
So the thing I did really enjoy about your book was because I'm like, you know what? It reminded me like how cool Jesus actually was. Like, I'm like, yeah, I guess I have been confused sometimes too about that a lot of the stuff is actually Paul that
Yeah.
some of our so-called
All the homophobia.
Christians, yeah, follow. But um gosh, I'm like, I'm so nervous. I keep
Oh,
losing my train of thought.
you're so good at
I'm
this.
so
You're
sorry. I'm
so
like,
good at this. And can I say something? You guys remind me of my dad because when my parents retired, they moved down south to Virginia Beach, but then they went down to Florida. And for many of my dad's neighbors, my dad was the first from Brooklyn and the first liberal they'd ever met in their life, and certainly the first liberal Christian they'd ever met in their life. When my dad died, I will tell you, the funeral in Florida, there were more conservatives in the crowd for his funeral than there were liberals because he went and was a blue dot in a. My dad wasn't even a Democrat. He never joined the Democratic Party, but he was a blue dot in a red state, and he modeled love, and he took care of people, and he was kind, and they were always so shocked when they found out how liberal he was. And whenever they found out how liberal, because they liked him, they didn't know he was liberal. They never met one. And then the door was open, and my dad, the ex-Franciscan, would talk about scripture. And where does Jesus say this? My dad was the guy who would hang out after mass and argue with the priest. What's with the brimstone and the fire? When you gonna talk about love? When are you gonna talk about love? Why is it always got to be hell, hell, hell? You
right,
know, and
yeah.
it's right. You choose the Jesus you want. You either have the Jesus who is crucified in pain, you did this to me, or you have the Jesus whose arms are outstretched in an embrace because he loves you and he's telling you it's going to be okay. And that's actually the guy who shows up in the book, not the guy who's making you feel guilt all the time.
Yeah, speaking of his death, another thing that yeah, that Mel Gibson movie really pissed me off about because I was like, I could have
Yeah.
sworn that Pontius Pilate was the bad guy. That's what I was always taught when I was younger.
Yeah, well, how much time you got? I mean, there's a lot I like in that Mel Gibson movie. I got to be honest. I think it's ultimately quite evil, but there's a lot I mean, doing it in Aramaic, and Jim Caviezel's excellent in the movie, and he's the first Jesus to color over his blue eyes, which I respect. But yeah, it's torture porn, and it's not about his teachings at all. It's about suffering and Catholic shame and his unresolved dad issues. Completely agree. But Pontius Pilate, when the cat when I mean, look, Jesus was arrested by a Roman governor, tried by a Roman governor, tortured and scourged by Roman centurions. He had to carry his Roman cross to the Roman chosen site of Roman executions, Golgotha, where Roman soldiers nailed him to a cross. Roman soldiers held a sign over his head mocking his Jewishness, and then Roman soldiers threw dice to gamble off his clothing. And from here, we get the Jews killed him, right? Right? And it's because the Romans took over his operation 300 years later and wrote themselves to be the good guy. So every time you see the Jesus story, you've got to accept that these Romans, oh yeah, we're executing him, we're torturing him, we're scourging him, but boo, we feel so bad about it. Oh, this poor fella, we wish we didn't have to do it. And in all these Jesus movies, the only ones who look Jewish are the Pharisees. Jesus always looks like Brad Pitt. They always have had the Holy Roman Empire had a need for years to make the Jews the villains, and after the Holocaust, they realized what they had done and they renounced all of this deicide against Jewish people. But I mean, that movie showed it. I mean, Pontius Pilate's like giving Jesus a manicure there, right? Like his wife is like, oh, please get him some clean towels. I mean, that's not in the Bible. Pontius Pilate didn't send his wife to get Jesus clean towels. Why is Mel Gibson bending over? Oh, the Holy Roman Empire are the good guys, and those Jews are the bad guys, and that's what made it a bad film.
And then it made me understand. I don't know. Do you watch The Righteous Gemstones?
Yeah, I do.
So I was like, because when I first started watching, I was like, why would they name their kid Pontius? But now with your explanation, I understand.
Oh, that's even hipper than I thought. I just thought it was a goofy joke. But yeah, I mean, but that's it, right? Like Jesus lived under Roman occupation, and they teach us this as children before we're old enough to understand what any of this stuff means. They teach us the Jesus and the miracles and like the Noah and the ark, but they don't teach us why his words were revolutionary, why he came to break the chains when other Bible verses talk about slavery, why he's the greatest feminist in the Bible at a time when women weren't allowed to speak to men, at a time when it was illegal to teach women, and he violates all these taboos to treat women as equals before Paul can come and drag him back down again. I mean, the further I got away from religion and began really researching the Bible, the more I understood why Jesus is such a revolutionary figure. And that's why it's always been in the interest of authority to make sure we have a childlike understanding of him.
Yeah.
Speaking of torture, what's it like trying to have a conversation with Scott Jennings?
He's fine. You know, he's fine. Y'all do it every day. Y'all do this much more often than I do. I mean, come on now. You know, Scott Jennings is a very talented broadcaster who is running for office in Kentucky, and this is all about him going for the Senate. So you know where he's coming from when he says the things he says. And I'm grateful for any chance to have a friendly debate with him and be very nice to him because he's very nice back to me about very important matters that I think if you're going to use Jesus's name to help you acquire earthly power, the rest of us are allowed to find out if you actually follow him or just using his name.
So Scott's a nice person, like in person,
He's a very
not
polite.
not a character that
He's always been very polite to me. Always been very nice to me.
I always thought that I'm like, come on, you're not really like this, are you?
I'm always very nice
A
to
lot of
him.
them.
Come on now, you guys do this with your right-wing people all the time. You're nice to them and they're nice to you, right? There's some of them you do this with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of them are probably, I mean, if I had to guess though, I'd probably say that Bill O'Reilly probably isn't really nice in real life.
No, especially if you're married to him, from everything I've been told so far. Yeah, I think you're exactly right.
And
But
I'm sure it's just a small group of them that aren't cool people.
I mean, I don't know. Was it always this way? Like, I look at your state and I see how far Arizona's come. Like, I'm a kid and I'm seeing Arizona keeping MLK Day from becoming a holiday. And now I look at your beautiful state filled with lots of right wing, sure, but you got your two Democratic senators, Democratic governor. I mean, Arizona has come a long way. I look at how conservatives and liberals are in this country, and I feel like we've gone the opposite direction. I feel like 25, 30 years of Fox News has normalized hatred. And where it used to be, we disagree on politics in our families, but still get along and love each other. Now we can't even be in the same room because they're so conditioned to hate.
Yeah, I was at that Public Enemy show where Flavor Flav about the Martin Luther King holiday.
Really?
Yeah, in 1992. And he was
Man.
like, yeah, he came out on stage. He's like, we love our fans in Arizona. We love y'all, but we're never coming back to this state because you voted against the Martin Luther King holiday.
And you remember how much the TV, the MTV networks was scared of white children seeing that video too easily? Remember how controversial the by the time I get to Arizona video was? And it was just like, dude, man, it's controversial to white people who don't want to know what's going on.
I know we loved it back in the
Great. I
day.
mean, well,
So,
come on, man. Chuck D is the greatest MC of all time. You want to just talk about that the whole time? I'm sorry,
yeah,
man. I
we
love Future. I
could.
love Future. I love Kendrick Lamar. Chuck D's the best MC ever. I will say that. I will say that to to Kendrick's
Oh,
face.
yeah, Kendrick Lamar is who he is because of Chuck D. You know?
Amen. Thank you. Oh, you get it.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Do you get to have that conversation very often with your right-wing friends in Arizona?
No,
No,
no.
they wouldn't. They didn't like when we had the BLM protest here. There was a guy that got arrested for he had a fake gun too.
Yeah.
It
So
was even like a fake gun, but he threatened to he was pointing it at and aiming it at people.
He was a prohibited possessor.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's
Prohibited
terrifying.
stuff. Yeah.
Well, you know, here's the thing. There's some folks who aren't angry that we need a Black Lives Matter movement. There's folks who are angry that we have a Black Lives Matter movement. Not angry that
Oh
we
yeah.
need one, angry that we have one.
Oh yeah. They've got stickers all over their trucks that say stuff to that effect.
Look, this is what we've seen. This is where the lines are. We see people who are more offended by anti-discrimination policies than they're offended by discrimination. I think that's the cleanest way to put it.
Exactly.
Speaking of guns, we kind of gained notoriety here after Parkland, and there was a local gun nut that wrote a piece in the paper saying it was to the effect of, "I'm here to tell you that AR-15 does not stand for assault rifle. I'm here to tell
He
you."
said I could tell you,
Oh,
and
I
went
know
through
these
all
I
the
could
points,
pedantic
the
trips.
bullet
These guys
points.
call on my show every night. These pedantic clowns who do you mere mortals don't understand what it's Armalite. Did you know that? You didn't know that, so you're not qualified to care about dead kids. How often do we hear this, guys?
yeah.
I know. So we wrote a rebuttal to him,
You did.
and yeah, and the paper actually called me. The guy was so excited. He's like, "Freaking, we want to publish this," and I'm like, "Go ahead," because we've been wanting to say it, the both of us, and so we were like, ours was saying like, we can tell you, and each of the points. And then when we went to the March for Our Lives rally here, protest,
Yeah.
um, there was a couple there, and they were an older couple. And remember how they said, because of your article, we registered to vote? I'm like, I always get verklempt when I try to even talk about it, because I was like,
But see how much good
really?
see how much good you did using your voice, being a blue dot in a red sea, and you use your voice anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. We set Facebook on fire though on that newspaper's page though. They had like 400 comments within like 2 hours, and
Oh, yeah.
80% of
Really?
them were really negative.
Oh yeah.
Asking
Welcome to
where
my
we
world.
worked,
Yeah,
who we were.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
we're gonna go to my old work and show up there. I'm like, no, don't do
With the
that. Don't
guns.
do that. You know,
Yeah,
we
boy,
had
there's
nothing
not
to do with this.
boy, the threats from the conservative Christians. Now, there's nothing like death threats from people who call themselves Christians. Beloved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that gets to the shooting in Minnesota this week, and there's nothing more outrageous than the thoughts and prayers when it happened at a Catholic school.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, and then they piggyback it with the transgender issue. Now I have a child that's transgender, and
They didn't
that
they didn't
also
they didn't
really,
piggyback. They deflected and scapegoated. Deflected and scapegoated. That's what they always do. They won't talk about the guns. Y'all know that.
I know. I like the part in your book where I think you were talking about the thoughts and prayers,
Yeah.
and you said thinking and praying it, and it basically, to them, it's that someone else will solve the problem, praying that someone
It's
else will do it.
it's passive Christianity. Thoughts and prayers is not actively doing what Jesus commands. It's passive and saying someone else will take care of this problem and maybe it'll be magic. Thoughts and prayers. I'm not going to be bothered to actually get involved and take any direct action to bring about a solution or make things better. I'm going to say thoughts and prayers because I don't think and I don't pray. And that's it. It is a cop out. There's dead kids, and you're going to say this? It is preventable. You're going to try to say, well, this was a mentally ill transgender person. And I will say, well, why are you fighting to put an AR-15 in that person's hands then? It's the guns. They have transgender people in every other country in the world. They have mental illness. They have SSRIs. They have violent video games. They have all this stuff. All of our allies enjoy all the same cultural variations we have, but our other allies don't have easy civilian access to weapons designed to kill lots of people really fast. So this week, it's disgusting. They'll look at all this violence that they generated because they still think they will fight for Robin Westman to have access to an AR-15. They will fight for Nicholas Cruz, the Parkland shooter, to have access to machines that kill lots of people. They believe that their personal freedoms is their true altar. And that personal freedom is so sacred, it means just a little bit more than your kid's goddamn life. Their personal freedoms matter more because having to reload mid massacre would be an infringement on my sacred personal rights. No, I think these shooters should be able to fire off 30 rounds. Why should a mass shooter have to stop after 10 and reload and then someone can tackle them? That is not freedom. Look what's happened to our brothers and sisters. Look at this filth that they've been groomed to believe. Their humanity has been checked out. And we're still pussyfooting around saying when they go low, we go high. No, we got to call them out on this and say, you're going to try and deflect this onto trans people, like when some racist right winger brings an AR-15 into a black church and kills all those folks in South Carolina. They made it about the Confederate flag. Should that come down? And then when this guy massacres all these white people at a country music show in Las Vegas, and they said, "Oh, bump stocks. You know what? Maybe bump stocks need to be banned." And then whenever it's a cocktail, oh, maybe mental health. Mental health is a yeah. And 98% of mass shooters are heterosexual identified men. 0.11% are transgender. Wow, we got to do something about these transgender people because look at this. Look at this. They will do, and they don't want to do anything. They don't want. They were doing this with Grand Theft Auto 20 years ago. They were saying violent video games 20 years ago, but they had no remedies. They just want to get you off the subject of guns until the media has chased down another ball and we've forgotten about these dead children. That's their racket. So I say no. When they come at you saying you transgender, I say, why do you want emotionally unstable 20-something males to have access to AR-15s in the same zip code as your children? Why is it important that for you that emotionally unstable males can get access to AR-15s near your child's school? Tell me why that should be acceptable to me, because I care about your kids. I care about your life. Tell me why Robin Westman's hobby is more important. Sorry, I get very worked up about this.
Oh, so
No. Yeah.
every time this happens, we go off on it. It's just infuriating that, and we're not anti-gun, as we know you are. I've heard.
Nor am I. Nor am I. Concealed carry. Listen, I say in the book, I think guns and ammunition should be free for most women. That's my position. I say it in the book.
Yeah, you have three fans of that statement
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Of course, it'll never happen because guns exist for one reason, for gun manufacturers to make money. That's all this is about. It's not about Second Amendment freedoms. It's all about profit, which is why if you subscribe to the NRA mailings like I do, every time there's one of these mass shootings, you will get the fundraising email saying the Democrats are going to come take your guns, and they make a killing off every mass killing. Make your allegedly Christian friends justify that. Make them stand up for that. Why? Why? They want to call themselves pro-life, pro-life, but they want Jorge Ramos. I'm sorry, Salvador Ramos in Uvalde at age 18, to be able to get multiple AR-15s, so he can slaughter more children more quickly while cops cower in the hallway because they're so terrified of this legal weaponry we let 18-year-old boys who are emotionally unstable acquire. That's their position. Make them argue with Jesus on it.
Yeah. Sometimes I think that for some of them, like it's the Second Amendment means to them like the right to kill if they see fit. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's fundamentalism. Fundamentalism is lazy theology. God likes me better.
yeah.
Violence is okay if I do it because I'm on God's side. So that means you're on the side of Satan, so God won't care. That's it. That's how they think. That's how the right-wing Muslims are, how the right-wing Christians are, how the right-wing Hebrews are. God likes me better, so violence is okay. The more conservative your religion is, the more women are always second-class citizens, right? I mean, ultra-Orthodox conservative Christianity, Islam, Judaism, women are always second class. God likes men more. And violence is okay if our side does it because we're on the one true God side. And sex is bad if women and gay people do it. It's only for procreation. And they always focus more on punishment than healing because that's how you control populations. It's never about Jesus. It's always about the church. It's always about the control of the masses, not about your individual connection with God and grace and healing. They're all just macho assholes and snake oil salesmen. And you guys, I mean, you guys are right in the middle of it, and I don't even know how you managed to stay so gracious.
Well, I'm
We tend to concentrate.
retired. That's how.
So doing this book tour, has Bill Maher reached out to you to be on?
I used to do Bill Maher's show a lot when I lived in LA, and I got to debate Jerry Falwell Sr. on his show when I was very young, and David Duke. I live in New York now, but I've been emailing with the producers, so I mean, we'll see. I
That'd
mean,
be awesome.
well,
Hopefully.
Well, the last time they asked me to do real time, I was literally doing a show with Lily Tomlin across on the other side of LA, and I told them I couldn't make it. So, but
Oh yeah, I wouldn't
I'd
cancel
love
on
to do it
Lily
again
Tomlin.
because I've had many wonderful discussions and debates with Bill about this, and Bill Maher was the first person to ever encourage me to talk about religion on TV. So I thank him in the book for that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
But what do you think, being a comic, what do you think of these dude bro comics like the Rogans and the Theo Vaughns and stuff like that, who seem to not only talk about misinformation on their podcasts, but also tend to like to punch down?
Yeah. Well, I'll go joke by joke on that. Like if they have good material, I'll praise it because they're good comics. And if they do regressive, lazy, punch down crap, I'll talk about it. I don't like criticizing artists generally as a rule. I try to avoid specifically criticizing artists, but I think I got one rule that is consistent for comedy and Christianity and politics, and it's don't punch down. What you just said. I mean, Jesus's whole ministry is about taking the people who are on the lowest rung, the people who get shit on the most, and that's who you focus on. That's who gets your love. That's who we have. They're the ones who will inherit the earth. It's all service to the least of us. That made a lot of sense to me. Uh, but this macho cruelty nonsense, where now we're going to say retard again, like these unmanly, dickless jerk offs would never say the word retard at the Special Olympics. You take these dude bro comics with their fucking chin pubes and you take all these dudes and you bring them to the Special Olympics and say retarded here now. Tough guy. Come, dude, it's so edgy. Come on, be edgy. Say it here, you Lenny Bruce, you monkeyless little mook. They wouldn't do it because they would recognize the inhumanity of it. They would recognize, no, it's a mean slur. So they wouldn't do it. They're pussies on top of being amoral. So it's just lazy, and it's like you see this in comedy clubs and late nights. The guys do the retard material. It's and transgender, but it's just whoever are the vulnerable groups that can't fight back that we're going to beat up on. It's so unmanly. It's the opposite of Christianity. And it's the kind of stand up that, yeah, if you're drunk enough, you'll laugh and then you'll feel dirty about it. But either way, you won't remember it the next day. It's not material that stays with you because it's bad material. It doesn't matter. It just hurts
Yeah, and
people,
it's
and it
already
makes
been
life
done
worse for
before.
kids. Yeah, it's already been done, and it makes life harder for the kids. It's like I worked in special ed for years. You have no idea the contempt I have for these males who are just such little pampered mama's boys that they feel like somehow, oh my God, the persecution that I can't say retarded. Wow, and I can't say faggot. Wow, I'm a white male who's able to do stand-up comedy in the first world, and I can't say two words. My God, I'm like Rosa Parks, aren't I? These are the same guys who are so upset that you would ever suggest that we give a damn about wildlife and ask them to wrap their precious, sensitive, soft lips around a paper straw. Oh, the Nellies, these unmanly Nellies, they're so addicted to their own comfort because they're not men and they're not Christians. So let them say retard all they want. That way, intelligent women will know to never mate with them.
All right, no, we're running out of time here. We'll do a little bit of lightning round.
Thank you.
You,
Sorry. Boy, it's a book about the Bible. I sure got preachy.
you, you, um, you live in New York City, right?
Yes, sir.
Mamdani or Cuomo?
I'm Toddy.
Obviously. What?
Look at the I said this. I was on CNN last week. I'm like, look, his policies are so much closer to Jesus than the Christians who are smearing him for being Muslim.
Yeah. Okay. Star Wars. You make many references to Star Wars in your book.
Oh, I had to cut so many Star Wars references out. I can't believe you said that. That's great. I cut so much Star Wars out of this book.
Love Star Wars. Total geek. Watch
Oh,
every show
same
that
here.
comes out.
Yeah, same here. It's horrible. I know. I've seen enough Star Wars TV to end a marriage. It's true, but I cut a lot of it out of this book. There was a lot more in it.
I have a question.
Please.
What? Okay, because Paul was Paul. What? Why did your parents decide to name one of your brothers Paul? They just liked the name.
It was a family name for my dad. It was my dad's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, why Paul?
Oh yeah. No, yeah. It was after an uncle. Absolutely. That's a great question though. My parents didn't have Paul hangups. They didn't get obsessed about this like me. They were much more well adjusted, and they lived in a different time when They lived in a time when the lines were much further drawn. My mother moved from the segregated South to Africa and then left the clergy to marry a man who was very passionate about civil rights in ways her father had not been. I'll put it that way. So, I mean, the lines were much clearer then. We had segregationists. Now it's a lot murkier.
We have a couple of your fans here. Our friend Bridget, she wanted to
Hi, Bridget.
something.
I just wanted like 30
She wanted to
seconds.
show you her shirt.
I am one of the
My
Derek
glasses.
Romaine bitches.
Oh my God, let me see. Look at that. Oh my, there you go. Wow.
Thank you for continuing to mention the long lamented out cue.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much. Oh, I miss the channel so much. And I'll tell them about your t-shirt next time I see them in the commissary.
I also know Adam Sank.
What a guy. Great guy.
I wrote a column on Hey Jorge Oliveras' website.
Oh, well, that man's my heart. Keith Price as well. We're practically cousins, lady.
I know.
Like you got all my relatives on speed dial here.
Out here in Kingman, who knew? And then one last thing, thank you so much for giving Julian Simon a platform.
Oh, right. I don't thank me for that. I'm honored. I can't believe they do it every week. I can't believe they're willing to do it. We do this segment every Thursday night on my show. We are the only, let me get this wording right, the only national radio show to have a weekly Indigenous Affairs segment. And it's just incredible. These two people are two of the best people I know. And you wouldn't believe how everything we debate, everything happening in our government and culture, especially under Trump, the Indigenous perspective on it takes a long view on what's happening right now. And I find them to be so relevant. And they have a great chemistry because Simon is the guy who'll cut you in a bar fight and Julie is the person who'll heal you afterwards at the triage. So they work really well together. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we'll end it on this question. With all the division in the United States, nobody agrees on anything except for one thing. That is food. What is the best dish that you prepare?
No, the sports. We agree on sports, right? We agree on. Come on now. There, what? How do you talk to these right wing guys, right? You got food. You got sports.
I'm from Boston, so I'm a Red Sox fan. So
all right, but still, all right. Star Wars. You can reach some of them with Star Wars. You can reach. I try to reach them with the Bible. We got to try to reach these guys any way we can. I mean, pop. The amount of these.
Though food works really good.
Food works. You're right. Food works better. Yeah, the amount of these guys who try to pull classic rock with me, and I'm just like, what? You don't believe in John Lennon supporting Donald Trump with food? I mean, it's true, right? Like Anthony Bourdain built a legacy on the concept that we would hate each other less if we understood each other's cuisine because it's all good for us. It's all nourishing. It's what keeps us alive around different parts of the world, and it brings us closer together. So, I mean, Lord, what would I would bring New York pizza if I was coming to your town. I mean, that's honestly the most unifying force in the galaxy I can think of. What would you serve?
Oh, I mean,
Mexican food.
Well, yeah, if I were to prepare it though.
Oh, okay.
No, a really good steak and without ketchup.
Nice. Very good.
All right, well, thank you for your time this afternoon.
Y'all are good at this. You should. I hope you do. You have a lot of guests on. You have a lot of riffraff like me joining you.
We've had Joe Covain on a couple times. We had Brent Terhune. Putting the word Pete Dominic though for us because we're trying to get him. He doesn't answer his emails. We've met him. Yeah.
I don't talk to Pete Dominic. I have people who talk to Pete Dominic. I don't talk to Pete Dominic myself. But yeah, well, tell him if I talk to him, I'll tell him. And if you write him, tell him I said to come on your show. I mean, keep at it. Just hit up these comics, hit up these people because you guys are good at this and you should do more.
Well, and Pete, we were at he did a thing in Vegas, stand up pod jam, and we met him up at the after party. And I was talking to him, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm the producer. I edit it. I come up with the topics."
Nice.
And Snow is dancing with a couple of girls in the background, just doing electric.
I was doing the I'm 50. I was practicing for when I turned 50. The Sally O'Malley.
Very nice.
And they were doing it with me. Yeah.
So, and I turned to Pete and I was going, well, I get what you do. You do all this stuff on your podcast. You do it by yourself. Snow here, I just wind her up and let her go. Because Snow is very outspoken when I push the right buttons.
Yeah, and I'm not good at doing all the social stuff, the social media
I'm
stuff.
not even on social media.
I'm terrible. Yeah.
Well, I'm terrible at it too, but I keep on trying, and thank you guys for having me. It's really been a pleasure talking to you. Sorry for going on so long.
No, hey, and one more time, give a plug for your book and where people can find it.
The book is called Separation of Church and Hate, A Sane Person's Guide to Take It Back the Bible from Fundamentalist Fascists and Flock Fleecing Frauds. Thank you all for looking at it and for inviting me to talk about it. That book's on sale now. It is available in stores on September the 9th.
Oh, one more thing I want to say too, that I love about your show is I love how you always talk about whose birthday it is whenever you do the show, that who's
Thank
got
you.
birthdays, because I'm a fan of that. Like I know all my birthday twins. I mean, I don't know them personally, but I know who has the same birthday.
That was something I just did at my show on Current TV, and I just continued it at Sirius XM, and it helps me decide what music to play on every night, who was born this day or died this day, or what album came out this day, or what movie was released this day. It helps us decide on a lot of the music we play, because we got a program
Yeah.
15 hours a week, so we gotta keep the music fresh.
You play one of my birthday twins now, Stevie Wonder.
That's right. He's our opening theme now. Every 6 months we
I
change the opening
know.
theme since we started. Right before COVID hit is when we started working doing the prime time, the night shift. Pete Townsend was our first guest actually, and every 6 months we change it up. So now it's Stevie Wonder. You're right.
Sweet.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I had a blast, and please, thank you again, and thank you so much for talking about this book. I'm so grateful that it spoke to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We
And
appreciate
thanks for coming on our
Okay.
show.
Thank you.
it. All right, we'll wrap it up. We'll see you.
Bye.
All right,
Bye
see you.
bye.
Bye, y'all.
This is where I log out, right? Or are you going to cut it?
Yeah.
Are you going to?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, just log out.
Right on. I didn't know if we had to make small talk or this is. Oh no, keep this part in. This is great. Keep this whole awkward thing. This is all right. Thank you all so much. Take care. Peace.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Bye.
Oh, that was awesome.
I know, so awesome. I went really.
So he was so good at explaining.
Oh,